The last video for this week, we will talk about how to write the truth tables. The truth table can be for one operator. Like earlier, we show you the truth table for the not. That's a truth table for not. You only have one operand work with the not. And truth table, since you have two input, we have 4 columns. The same thing for the OR operator, work with 2 operand, so that's why you have 4 columns in the truth table. But most of the time, we are not only have one operator in the boolean operation. So that's why here in this video, we want to talk about if you have a boolean operation, they have more than one input. So how can we have the result? Then we need to use the truth table. In your Boolean expression, sometimes they involve multiple operators, so we just need to follow the order operation. Or sometimes you only have one operator, but one thing is, according to your Boolean input, then we need to have the result. The most important thing we need to know is your truth table. You need to show all the input and the output. So when we say all the input output actually mean all the possible input combination, then we have their output. So we see, for example, like here, we have not X or Y. So one thing is, when we start working on the truth table, we need to see how many input variable we have. So here you can see you have X and Y. So that's why from your first row, you need to have your X and Y. Most of the time, when you have X and Y, right? So then after you have your X and Y, then you need to make sure you include all the combination. So here you have your X. So your X and Y will have 2 input. So we have 2 possible output for X, 2 possible outcome for the Y. So 2 times 2, there are 4 different combinations. So in order to make sure you cover all the combination, you can start from one input. So one input X can be false, can be true. But when X equal to false, your Y can be false or true. So the same thing when X equal to true, your Y can be false and true. So that's why you can see here, you make these 2 columns first to make sure you include all the combination. Then we continue to see what we need to process. So then we find out, okay, we want to do the OR, but we want to do not X or Y, it's not X or Y. So not is have higher precedent, right? So that's why here you can insert one more column. So then you have your not X. So not X, we just reverse from all the input for the X to reverse their result. So that's why false become true. True become false. Please add the necessary column you need. Even you feel like, oh, I can think about not X. Then you see, oh, not X become true. Then true, false. True or false become true. No, it's sometimes your truth table actually will be very complicated. I don't want you to put too much thing in your mind. So instead, you just have one more column here. So after you have this not X column, right, we need to do not X or Y. So then we just focus on these 2 columns. So since we want to do OR, right? Right. So remember OR. As long as you have one true, it's true. So that's why you see true. True. Okay, both are false. That's false. So then this one is true. So then you can see here, they shadow this part. That's your output. So that's what we call the truth table. Truth table, according to how many input variable, you need to show all the combination for all the input. There will be multiple columns. Then the output only have one column, including all the combination. Please make sure you will try to do that yourself too. So the next example, actually, let's do this one, is x and not y. So I want you to not look at this result because we already have that. So instead, actually, I want you to just open one Excel file. Okay, so you can see here, I have that, right? Okay, so that's work together. Instead, we just see the result. So right, you see, okay, yeah, so I think when I do this, okay, yeah. So I have two input, so put x and y first. Okay, so then remember we want to have all the combination. So x can be true and false. Right, so when x is true, y can be true or false. So the first beginning, you need to make sure your truth table will work correctly. You need to include all the combination. So that's why we can make sure they work correctly. Okay, so now we have our combination here. So then right, later we need to do the and. But the first thing is x and not y, right? So that's why you know not y. Yeah, I cannot do the symbol. So that's why I just can write just not y. So not y actually need to have one more column. So you just reverse what originally y is. We reverse all the result. Okay. So then after you have not y, right? So that is x. Okay. So now you see here, after we have the not y, let's do the x and not y. So since you want to do the x and not y, right? So we need to see this column and this column. So be careful. You need to know which column you are looking for. So the x and the not y. So then we want to do the and, right? What is definition for and? Yeah, and you have two input. Only both input is true. They are true. Otherwise, they are false. So that's why you see these two columns. True, false. So that will be false. True, true. Right, that's true. Okay, so false, false, of course, still false. So then false and true. So that's true. Okay, so that's your result. So I want you to make sure you are not only look at the handout, we have your result, but also make sure you can use in your Excel file to see your result. Also, of course, here we can compare our result, then we got the answer correct. So that's the truth table. Post anytime, so then you can check your result. So again, let's do the last example. So this time, the last example, actually, we have y, s, x, and s. So that's why here, actually, you have y, s, and your x. So that's why we have three different variables. So three different variables, we have how many combinations? Right, because each variable you have two possible outcomes, right? So 2 times 2 times 2, so totally we will have 8 outcomes. So that's why you see the first important, how you will start correctly is the most important thing. You need to check all the combination correct. So that's why for y, you have 8 different outcomes. So you know you have 4 true and you have 4 false, right? Because for this 4 combination, x and x, they can have different combination too. So when y is true, we can have s is true or s is false. So each one actually, why they have 2 pairs? Because s is true, x, this s is true. The x can be true or false. So that's why you see, you use Excel or Word document, it's easier to do that. Because you see here, your y actually, they have the truth and the false. They have the same combination like this. So after you're done, you see, I just need to copy over. Because this one, the same set will happen when y is true, right? Also happen y is false. So I just copy over. So that's the first step. You need to make sure this one correct. Otherwise, the rest of that, you see, then since you start wrong, then your end will be wrong. Okay, so after that, we see here, right? So we had parentheses. So that's why we need to do this one is y, right? So here we do the first parenthesis first. So this first parenthesis, y and s. So make sure you know which line you are talking about, y and s, right? So you look at these two. So since end, only both is true. So that's why you can see true. Okay, so then here one false, so false. Okay, then you see not both are true, so they are all false. Okay, so then we finish the first parenthesis. Then you do the OR, but we need to finish this parenthesis first. Okay, but you see this one, you have X, right? But you don't have not S. So for me, you see, I will insert, okay, one column, but actually I should do the other way. Okay, but anyway. Correct, because we do the X and not S. So actually it's not S. Okay, so not X, I just flip everything. Okay, so then you see these two columns is our second parenthesis. You have X and not Y. X, not S. So X. So X and not S. So you're looking for these two columns. So then you see that's the end, right? So only both is true. So that's why we can see here they have false, false. So these two are true. So we do true. Or usually you see I just find the true first. So I know the rest of that I need to fill false. Okay, so you see this, you will go to see these two columns. You do end, you just find the true first. So I see I find the both true first. Both true first. Okay, so then the rest of that, they are all false because they including one false. So then you have your final one. So the final one actually just is the final output column. So your output column, you do these two columns, but we do the OR. So then you need to think about what is OR. Yeah, OR is as long as you have one is true, they are true, right? So that's why only they are both are false. They are false. So we can see, you see here, we have 4 false. So I just write false, false, false first. Then the rest of that should be true. Okay, so that's our result. So of course I show you in the Excel. So instead here, of course, you see this one we have the result. But sometimes you see, how come it's not in the right order? Because beginning your order is not right. No, it's not the same. Didn't mean which one is wrong. This way is correct too. This way is correct too. But how come they look different combination? It's just because when you start writing the variable, they're using different order. But for me, yeah, because I prefer this way. So I know I won't miss anything. But here you can see they're using the last one as is false, 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 and true. Okay, so it's up to you how you will make sure all your combination include. But for me, I want to do like this. You see, I know I have 3 input, so that's why I make 8 column. So I make one variable. They have 4 true, 4 false. So then the other 2 column, we just make the combination, and also you can copy over. The most important thing for your truth table, you need to make sure when you do the beginning, including all the variable, you have the correct order and include all the combination. When you start correct, your result will be correct. But if you start wrong, then definitely your result will be wrong. So that's our truth table. You will have some truth table you can work on during your assignment too.